Everything gonna be all right. Oh, yeah. I would like you to sing with me. Don't worry, you don't have to do that. I would like this front group. Actually, I want everybody to start out together singing wellness, 2, 3, wellness, 1, 2, wellness, 1, 2, 3, wellness. You got to sing loud. Wellness. There we go. Good. Wellness. And if you were so inclined, wellness art, 2, wellness art, 2, wellness arts, 2, wellness arts. Keep going, keep going. Beautiful. So I want the people in the front to keep going. 1, 2, 3, wellness. Great, I want the people on this side, yes, to sing this. Wellness, my body knows what I need. 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 Let's hear it. My body knows wellness arts. Wellness arts. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it now. Thank you. And then the people in the back who sort of slid in just a little bit on the DL, I want you to sing this. Keep going. Keep it all going. Here we go for the people in the back. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands. Keep it going. And I need a little bit more of the clap. Come on, people. There we go. And of course, we need to clap while we're doing this too. So, I need, my body knows what I need. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands, yeah. Clap your hands. Clap. And wellness arts. Wellness arts. Wellness arts. Knows what it needs. And knows what it needs. Hey, 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 hey. And I'm going to invite us always to go back to the wellness arts. Wellness arts. Wellness arts. Wellness, my body knows what I need. My body knows what I need. Join me, please. My body knows what I need. My body knows what I need. Beautiful. Thank you for being a part of the Kennedy Tabernacle Choir this evening. My name is Austin Willacy. I am very honored and thrilled to be here tonight as a part of this event. I live in the Bay Area, though I was born here in DC at the Columbia Hospital for Women. And it is always a special homecoming for me when I'm back here. And I get the chance just for a couple minutes to share just a little bit about what I do in the world. I am an a cappella singer who travels with a group called the House Jacks domestically and internationally, and gets the chance to do lots of singing and vocal music workshops with people who are pretty young and people who are not so young. I am also a singer-songwriter, so I play guitar. That's mine. And I have some music that I have released and have traveled both domestically and a little bit internationally with that as well. I co-direct a community choir in Oakland. That's an Oakland-based group of activists and educators, and produced an EP that came out last fall. I mentor a teen a cappella group that's part of an arts nonprofit in San Rafael. I also have the chance to do this work that is kind of at the intersection of sort of community building and emotional literacy and music. And so that work is an organization that I founded with some friends out here called Raise Your Voice Labs, and have gotten a chance to support a groups in coming together, realigning around what their mission is, what their values are, what their vision is, and partway into that journey, supporting them in writing a song together. And then after the song is written, supporting them in shooting video. So at the end, they have a music video of a song that they wrote together, sort of chronicling this journey that they've been on together. And so that's incredible work, and that has taken me to The Hague this summer for the 3rd Environmental Peace Building Conference, where there's a huge recognition that in spaces that are very scientific, it's also really important to make sure that the other parts of the brain and body are engaged too. And so I taught a songwriting workshop there, and a song was born out of that. That became sort of the theme song of the conference. I just got back last Wednesday from Cali, Colombia, where I was at the conference on biodiversity as part of COP16, sort of doing that same peace-building work. And then a song that I was commissioned to write last year for the climate COP in Dubai is part of a video that's called Nature Footprints. The song's called The Path to Peace. And it's also working at these same intersections. And so I am thrilled and delighted to be here, getting to sing with y'all, and more later. And for now, I just want to say thank you, and you're in for a really beautiful evening. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody. You sound great. You're all in great voice. Yeah, and that was rhythmically challenging, too. Yeah, I had trouble keeping my clapping going in exactly the right moment. So we're so glad you could be with us tonight. This Millennium Stage series, Arts and Wellness with NeuroArts Blueprint, highlights this incredible potential of this intersection of arts and health, and it improves our health and well-being.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and my body knows what I need. That was really wonderful. Thank you, Austin. So it's really a pleasure to be here. I'm Susan Magsamen, and I am the director of the International Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University, and also the co-director of the NeuroArts Blueprint. And over the last several years, the Blueprint has been really working hard to create an implementation plan to really build an international strategy around building the field of neuroarts, creating a sustainability plan for how this work can really be used in health, well-being, learning, community development, which is one of the things that we're going to be talking about deeply tonight with our guests. But one of the projects that we are very proud of is something called the Renee Fleming NeuroArts Investigator Award. Last year, we gave out 7 awards to really talented researchers and arts practitioners. And this year, we are excited to announce tonight the launch of the 2nd annual award. So if we could show the video and share that with everyone, please.
Hi, I'm Renee Fleming. You know the feeling of well-being, calm, and joy when you see a beautiful painting, sing in a group, or dance? It's not your imagination. It's science. Art heals and it helps us to flourish. And we now have the evidence to back up these health impacts. The building blocks of a new field called NeuroArts. But we need more. We need to bring together arts practitioners and researchers working in this groundbreaking field to expand awareness of NeuroArts and leverage its power to improve health and well-being worldwide. In order to mentor early career scholars and arts practitioners in this field, I established the NeuroArts Investigator Awards. The interdisciplinary teams we fund are increasing our understanding of how the arts and aesthetic experiences measurably impact the brain, body, and behavior. Our mission is to integrate these experiences and their clinical applications in mainstream medicine and public health as everyday practices to prevent and treat illness. So I ask you to join us in building the field of NeuroArts by sharing your expertise, knowledge, and experience. If you are a researcher or artist interested in NeuroArts-related work, I hope you will consider applying for a Renee Fleming NeuroArts Investigator Award. You can learn more about the awards program at neuroartsblueprint.org.
Very exciting.
So applications are open, and we hope that you'll think about it and also share it with people that you think are interested. You know, this field is so exciting, and the research is really spectacular, and we need it to really inform the translation and the practices. So I'm really excited to move forward on that. But tonight, we're going to be exploring the community-based arts initiatives that we can really benefit from both on an individual level and at a societal level, hyper-local communities, thinking about it in different sectors. And so we're really excited to be able to think about this work from a local, state, national, and even international level. And we think that this work really amplifies community health and well-being. And so we're going to begin by introducing Quanice Floyd, who's going to share a bit about her work.
Hello, everyone. I'm Quanice Floyd. I am the Executive Director of the National Guild for Community Arts Education. Our organization is a service organization, which means that we serve the people. I often tell people that we are the ones that heal the healers, right? Because we understand that community arts leaders, teaching artists, and those within our ecosystem are really working towards building those relationships with their community and using their arts as a tool for their communities to heal. And so as a part of our work, we have over 400 organizations around the country, which amounts to about 8 to 10,000 leaders in the ecosystem. And our work is really about strengthening that ecosystem so that there is opportunity for us to really build on who they are as humans outside of their positions and to support them in that way. And so I've been at the National Guild since 2022. My background is that I was a public school music educator. I live in DC, I'm originally from New York, but I've taught in Baltimore County and Montgomery County public school systems. So I love it here, and it's been a really amazing experience to teach the amazing the younger generations of the school systems in this area. And so from there, I really wanted to advocate on behalf of my schools and my communities and became a lobbyist in the state of Maryland, where I advocated for funding for arts education in the school system. And so through that process, I really loved to yell at people, because that's what lobbying is. You're yelling at people, you're telling people to do the right thing, you're really getting on their nerves. That's what lobbying and advocacy is about. And so we were really at the forefront of a lot of conversations and at the intersections of a lot of conversations, because arts education is not in those conversations typically. So I had to force my way into a lot of those rooms to say, hey, don't forget about the arts, right? Like, make sure when you're talking about health, talk about the arts. When you're talking about finance, talk about the arts, right? Like, all of that is intersectional. And so from there in Maryland, I became the executive director of the National Guild, and we are on a journey. We're on a journey to heal. Because we are now coming out in a COVID-integrated world. I don't say post-COVID, because COVID's still around. So a COVID-integrated world, and during that time, at the height of it, people, they went to the arts, right? They went to Netflix. They were doing videos on TikTok. They were doing all of these things that involved the arts. And so, I'm really trying to push that cognizance around, oh, this was arts education. Oh, this is the arts. Oh, during a time of crisis, I used the arts to help me cope. And so we're really excited about the work that's coming to the Guild. And for you all to learn a little bit more about our organization, feel free to go to nationalguild.org. And you can learn about our programs. We have conferences. We have professional learning series. We actually had sustained collaboration workshop earlier today. And we're really trying to bring people together and move the power forward so that we all can support one another, build resources and tools, and be able to move the world through the arts.
Thank you, Quanice. That's music to my ears. So Susan has a wonderful way of putting this, which is that, COVID actually reminded us that it's the very air that we breathe, that the arts are everywhere, and we're engaged with them all the time, but we just don't realize it. And as she said, tell them what you always say. I love this.
Well, I really feel like we forgot that this is how we're wired. And when you're exposed to it, like Austin's work, it comes back to you, right? You find the vibration, you find the feeling, you find the emotion. And Quanice, I know that when you talk about your work, it's so extraordinary because you really have an army of artists. You have first responders, 8,000 artists that are working completely directly into the communities. And would you share a little bit more about some of the programs that you are initiating with these artists? Because you talk about healing the healers, but I think there's something really important, like first responders. First responders are now using arts experiences and aesthetic experiences because they don't have post-traumatic stress, they have consistent chronic stress. And so it's a practice. And I think very similarly, what you're doing is similar for the group of people that you're working with.
Tell us about the mental health benefits, yeah.
Absolutely. So we are working on a sabbatical program for community artists because what we realized is that when I was doing my strategic planning process, I was going all over the country and talking to folks, and they were burnt out because they are the first responders in their community. And so as a part of that, we want to make sure that they are able to take care of themselves as they're taking care of others. So we're really trying to make sure that they have the opportunity to rest. If there's anybody who likes to support that type of program, please let me know, because we really want to make sure that program is at the forefront of our work, because we can't have burnt out artists, because then we're going to have burnt out communities, right? Another thing is we're looking at creative wellness for teaching artists. And so our hope is that we can work towards guaranteed income so that teaching artists don't have to work 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gigs just to pay their bills. We want to make sure that we're supporting them in their holistic, so they don't have to stress, right? Because when you have to work multiple jobs like that, you really are stressed out, right? You're stressing your body, you're always moving. And so now, we want to be able to support them so that they can be able to understand how they can be supported and really support their communities through that rest and that sabbatical and relaxation.
And that happens in other countries.
Absolutely.
That is not a new idea, to have a living wage for an artist to be able to help bring culture and life to a community, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and there's only a couple of organizations that really focus on rest, and so we're trying to make it, because we're a national organization, we're really trying to make this a field-changing program, right? We want to make sure that people are resting. We want to make sure that people feel that they don't always have to do everything, and that we can really empower our communities to spread out the love, to spread out the power, to spread out the work that we're trying to do for one another.
Well, and it's also really making sure that these communities are value artists. That's an issue that we face all across the country. And the more we understand the science behind art, the more we will value what these artists have to bring.
Absolutely.
So, Panagis.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's hear from you. Can you tell us about your work?
Of course, yes. No, thank you, Renee. So my name is Panagis Galiatsatos. I'm an associate professor at the Johns Hopkins University, and I'm a lung and critical care doctor. And about a decade ago, being a lung doctor and a critical care doctor, unlike my friend here who yells at people being a lobbyist, I put people to sleep, right? I intubate them, put them sometimes into a medically induced coma and so forth. So with that in mind, about a decade ago, I began my training at the hospital that was in my backyard. I grew up in Greektown, son of immigrants. That hospital on the hill was, what I saw was our hospital. And being able to go back to that hospital and work as a resident, as an intern, really meant a lot to me. And I remember being in the intensive care unit, because what struck me was the people that we were admitting in the ICU, these weren't patients. these were my neighbors. This was my soccer coach. This was my priest, right? These were the people I grew up with. During that moment, as an intern specifically, I remember one of the patients, 29-year-old, we had to put him in a medically induced coma because of diabetic ketoacidosis. And over the next 24 hours, I just remember his mom would just play music, right? The soundtrack that connected, him to her. When he woke up, that's all he talked about. Was like, Mom, you could have skipped some songs. Like, he could hear this. At that moment, I really didn't grasp that power, right? I'm not an artist. I am a fan of the arts. My daughter tells me very much I can't carry a tune. But for me, that was someone that I knew. This was someone who grew up in my neighborhoods, in Ponca Street, in Baltimore, in Greektown. So what I ended up starting a few years later was something called Medicine for the Greater Good. Its intention was to create physician citizens, to understand the value and significance of community engagement, where it can merge population health strategies with community health. But the challenge with doing those efforts, it sounds great. I had a leg up on all my colleagues. I grew up in Baltimore. I know Baltimore. I know its ins and outs, right? I can tell you what neighborhoods you're going to send your Ukrainian neighbor to in order to get some deli meat and where you're going to send your Polish neighbor to, right? There's differences. Those nuances you can only know if you know Baltimore intimately well. So the challenge I had with a lot of my colleagues was, well, how do I connect with the community? How do I connect with the community? And there's these variables with the community that I recognize. We may not look and sound like them when we walk into certain places. And that's when we began to realize the arts. That 29-year-old taught me something. Because what I realized in the intensive care unit, the arts, the nurse knew him through the arts, right? We all knew them because of the soundtrack that they played to live through that ICU moment. That soundtrack was their soundtrack for their life. But it was a connection, it's connectivity. And so now fast forward almost a decade later with Medicine for the Greater Good, what we begin to do is realize when we train physician citizens, when we train community health workers and other liaisons to be the brokers between a health system and the communities, the neighborhoods, the faith-based organizations, the schools that we want to connect with to promote health and wellness in a way that a healthcare system could never do it, to achieve this fulfillment of medicine and it being reaffirmed as a public trust, we have to find the tools to connect with the community. And the arts have been so powerful to do just that. And yesterday was our 9th annual Medicine for the Greater Good Symposium. Our keynote speaker, if you don't know her, was Renee Fleming, yes. And what she heard was our community health workers, yes, round of applause, of course. She heard our community health workers, especially Latish, talk about how she implements the arts all the time to connect with her community, with these individuals, with the people that she called neighbors. This is the way, I'm telling you, modern medicine cannot achieve. I went to a school of medicine, not to a school of health. Arts is a fulfillment of health. And the more we value that and make it a permanent seat at the table, I really do think we're going to revolutionize not just healthcare, but health overall.
So can you just say exactly what you do or what some of your doctors do to get a way in? Do they come in and they start playing music? Do they have a drawing symposium? How does it work?
So a way in, a few ways. Right, especially with faith-based organizations, we'll go and attend their worship service. We'll sing their songs. Right, art to me it provides this imitation of life where you may lack that experience. But those songs, suddenly you can gravitate to that. So the Reverend sees us there, sees us singing along. And actually that's how I got into St. Matthew's at Turner Station. I showed up to their worship services because the Reverend refused to talk to me. He's like, I know Johns Hopkins, we're not your guinea pigs. So I showed up. Storytelling is a big one, and not oftentimes from us, from the community, right? So when we show up, they're like, are you going to do another needs assessment? The last thing I need is another survey to fill out. That's what we did. And we're like, no, tell us your story. So sometimes it's not us actually doing the arts, it's them doing it to us, and then we learn about them. You learn a community through their arts. And that's what's been powerful. That's what establishes these factors of homophily. And of course, then we'll become vulnerable. We'll share our storytelling. We'll share our arts. That's what exists. And that's been what's so been, to me, powerful and eye-opening because it expedites this notion of trust. And now with that bridge of trust, we can actually allocate healthcare resources. We can talk about, proper medical information so people can live their lives to their best fulfillment. That's the goal here. People want to be trusted, but you gotta learn how to establish that trust. And art's best vehicle.
And Panagis, one of the things that I want you to come back to is you mentioned this term, community health worker. Can you explain this concept? Because this is, I think, at the heart of what we're trying to do in connecting healthcare to the community, right?
Of course. And this is where we could even talk about our community artists, right? You know, so community health worker now has become this umbrella word. It finally received its federal definition. So there's a standardization to it, but the intention of it is to have someone who comes from communities who, with that insight of how people grow up, the resources they have, standardize them with some job skills around promotion of health and wellness, make them liaisons between the healthcare system and the neighborhoods and the community-based organizations they'll serve. That's a community health worker. And the beauty of them being standardized with a federal definition is job security, right? And what I'm hoping that all 50 states achieve is allowing them to do social prescribing. So they're out there, they realize they're stressed, I'm gonna prescribe some art. And they can get a fee for service for that, bill the insurance companies. I'm fulfilling Renee's promise, right? Because you want us to bill the insurance companies for arts. But that's the goal, right? Is to have these community health workers socially prescribe in order to promote health in a way that a doctor never could. And I'm telling you, it works. We have the data. Plenty of scientists have reaffirmed it. I'm just as a true now disciple of believing in the arts. When we showcase to the healthcare system, we can save hospitalizations in the intensive care unit, millions of dollars, not by a medicine, but by solely socially engaging through the arts with these patients. And we did it in 2019, and we will do it again. But
Isn't that the way medicine was always practiced throughout time, throughout history?
Yep. Not just bedside by the patient, but bedside in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and it's social connection, it's human connection.
Exactly.
We worked on a project, actually, a long COVID project, to try and improve methods for delivering information about pulmonary health, because he said he doesn't see patients until they're really, really sick.
Right.
You don't have a lot of it. Could you mention that for a second?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
No, well, as a lung doctor, the challenge that I have is when I think of my cardiology friends, right? So maybe there's an understanding here. There's preventative cardiology, right? They will do everything possible to prevent that heart attack. They'll check your lipids, your A1C, your body mass index. There's all these things they'll take in. I have nothing for preventative pulmonary. I have nothing, right? Until the patient is actively in an advanced state of a disease, I've lost them, right? And the lungs, as much as I love them, they are my favorite organ. You should love them too. There's not a lot of interventions to regain lungs that are lost. So what we discussed was, how do we turn the arts, especially singing, into that, right? As a doctor, I always prescribe my patients some level of exercise because that's the way, your lungs are a muscle. How do muscles grow? You use them. Well, if I can't get up out of my seat because I'm in social isolation from COVID, how about we sing? Right, and so we discuss these kind of pulmonary techniques to really be able to give people some insight of their own pulmonary health, and not in a non-fun medical way, but in a truly fun way through the arts. And so from my standpoint, this is what the revolution of pulmonary medicine will be. Right, the arts are going to lead us there because over 100 years of modern medicine, it hasn't achieved it. So more to come.
I was on a Zoom during the pandemic, and two men came on, and both of them cried. These men were, probably in their 50s, because they were told, they got COVID early on, and they were told they had 3 to 4 years to live. And these were young men, right? And they started, he heard about the English National Opera program. He found a program in Los Angeles, ended up connecting with, I think it was UCLA, and sang with a couple of women from Los Angeles Opera, all on Zoom. They got better. They got really better. So it was partly, of course, the singing, which is exercise for people with pulmonary health issues, but also cardiac failure. It was also this connection.
Of course, yeah. No, the connectivity. I mean, it does so much more than just strengthen the lungs. It's such a holistic bolus of an intervention, right? And that's one thing modern medicine cannot replicate. It's the arts.
But when you pull it back to science, to what Renee was talking about, and you're thinking about, well, what is happening when someone's singing, right? I think it's really important to say you don't have to be good at it. It helps when you're with Renee to be good at it.
Thank you.
But oxytocin.
Susan, you're better than you think.
You know what? I was feeling good out there.
You
I was
were
feeling
right
really
in
good.
tune.
Thank you. I'm always like, yeah,
We
okay,
always end
thank
up
you.
singing together.
But oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, all of these neurotransmitters are being released. And several of the ones I just mentioned make you feel good. Other ones connect you to each other. And so you don't have to be a neuroscientist to know the feeling of how these affect us. And so there's these multiple benefits that are happening. And Panagis, one other thing that you shared with me that it stayed with me for a long time. You talk about prevention and you talk about intervention, but a couple years ago you told me about someone who didn't want to take their medication. Would you talk about that?
And so as a doctor, I come across a lot of those patients, but that's perfectly fine because when they tell you this, a lot of it is centered around fear, right? They're losing control, right? Suddenly, and they may not see the medical world as on their side. Right, so there's a lot of barriers you do try to overcome. But when you can align an intervention with a cultural priority, a cultural staple, right, then you connect with patients, then you connect with people. And that's what I strive to do every day with them, right? I'm not prescribing you a medicine, I'm telling you how this will let you play with your grandkids. I'm not prescribing you an inhaler, I'm telling you how this would allow you to take these walks with your wife, right? That's the goals that you try to achieve. So when you have patients tell me, I'm not taking this, you find other ways to connect with them. And again, I'm sitting here telling you things you all know, but the conversations around singing and arts, those are things that you bring in because you try to make people understand, well, what is important to them. So if you're hinting at the patient that I'm thinking of, he was a saxophonist, right? And for him, he has been so miserable because everyone that's giving him medications from rituximab to prednisone, he still can't play his sax. So why is he going to take a lung doctor's extra inhaler? And that was the promise I gave him. And he still performs to this day. So.
And what you said to me is he needed something to live for.
Exactly.
Right? Because if there's no quality of life,
exactly.
Why would you take your medication, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The saxophone.
It's so powerful.
Yep.
Bravo to you, Panagis.
So Jill Sonke from University of Florida had scheduled to be with us today, but unfortunately from, I think, New York to Washington, D.C., there's an electrical system problem on the train. So she was stuck in Philadelphia and is not able to be with us tonight. But Jill has sent us a short video that shares a bit about a program that she has been studying, initially was called One Nation, One Project, where using the WPA model, she and colleagues were able to work with 18 cities around the United States to bring an arts activation to that community to really ignite the spark of what it means to have arts in your community. Each community had a different artist and a different art form for a different purpose. The municipalities were involved, the institutions, arts institutions and community organizations were extremely active in this. And they also created a survey that is still open and active, gauging the interests and the outcomes of this work that was happening in those communities, but also asking people around the country to really weigh in on the value of this. So if we could share that video.
July 27th is going to be a party. It's going to be a fiesta.
It's going to be a vibe.
Exhilarating.
People look forward to this.
So excited.
All kinds of art, culture, programming.
Making stuff, having fun.
On July 27th, 18 cities and towns across America will simultaneously premiere their own public art projects as part of a new national arts and health campaign.
In Harlan, there's definitely an urgency
to talking about health and arts and wellness right now.
We lost a lot of people in Harlan, and it's been felt.
It's kind of a struggle to be on your own and not have a community to lean on.
The community is in need of a space where they can have a thriving moment for themselves.
We really love the idea of bringing arts into trying to reimagine how a city works, how we make it better. thinking about public health, safety, and well-being.
And in our under-resourced communities, we need something that really binds us all together, that makes us that much stronger, and I believe it's the arts.
We're genuinely excited that each community is doing something specific to its own place and form of expression. We're talking about hala weavers from Hawaii, gospel and blues singers from the Delta, banjo players from Appalachia.
We'll get a whole bunch of people together and be able to share this mobile clinic with folks, do screenings, do treatments, even as part of a community festival, and share stories about how we take care of ourselves.
There's going to be the combination of fantastic artists, ceramics, sample things in the fresh market. We're really looking forward to this event as an opportunity for people to experience what this holistic model of health, wellness, and healing can really offer.
We're so grateful to be able to partner with different artists as they bring to life their expression of Ea, of sovereignty, through their own practices.
Our community of dancers come together with a larger community of artists in Hawaii to be seen, to be heard.
For us, it is going to be a Healing Arts Chicago summer celebration, representing all of the embodied arts.
We're checking in with the whole body, see what, rhythmically, what can we do together?
For our annual health fair this year, we're actually merging it with Arts for Everybody, like a huge block party with social prescribing, which really is a way to get patients to participate in the arts for the betterment of their health and well-being.
My greatest hope is that future generations will be able to continue to invest in the intersection between arts and health to ultimately empower the artists within those communities.
Many studies have shown that arts participation leads to significant physical and mental health benefits. We are hoping this project puts a light on what is possible.
I'm really excited to be able to offer a day of invigoration.
To give us a sense of hope and joy and effervescence of life.
Join us.
Join us.
Come and join us, July 27th.
July 27th.
July 27th.
Hope y'all come out.
Arts for everybody.
Arts for everybody.
Artes para todos.
Art for everybody.
For everybody.
See you there.
So sorry that Jill can't be here to really share more about this, but it's really been an extraordinary activation. And there are many organizations that are doing activations all over the country and also all over the world. Maybe I'll just lift up another NeuroArts Blueprint initiative that's happening, is something called the Community NeuroArts Coalitions. And over the last 2 years, we've had 3, one in Palm Beach, one in Kansas City, and New York City. And this year, we are now announcing another 10 that will be joining the Community NeuroArts Coalitions, and a field guide for any community anywhere in the world that wants to begin to start to build that within their community. So having things like this, but also bringing together schools, researchers, community organizations, arts organizations, artists, funders at a hyper-local level to be able to start to build the capacity at a hyper-local level. And I was out in Chicago recently at Sweetwater Foundation. They're a community, hyper-local community farm that also does arts experiences. And I said to Emmanuel Pratt, is the person that runs it, and I said, Emmanuel, this is great, but you're in the south side of Chicago, how do you scale this, like a very naive person would say. And he said, Susan, if you have 1,000 simple, small things that really go deep and you connect them together, then you got something big. And I think that's what's so great about these programs like Arts for Everybody, the Community NeuroArts Coalitions, the work that the WHO is doing, where you start to have all of these small, beautiful, deep programs that Quanice is doing, that Panagis is doing, that ultimately create a quilt, create a connective tissue that brings us all together for whole health. So that's a segue to Sunil Iyengar, who is from the National Endowment for the Arts. And Sunil has been doing some amazing work to knit us all together.
Well, I really appreciate that, and it's a pleasure to be here with, among many other people, 2 authors. I want to acknowledge your Brain on Art, which has been very seminal in this field, as well as Music in the Mind and others, the work of Quanice and Panagis. It's been wonderful to learn from them. So at the NEA, we're all about promoting opportunities for people to engage with the arts all around the country, from all backgrounds, urban, rural, all demographics, socioeconomic backgrounds. We are, if you don't know the NEA, the largest federal agency promoting arts, supporting arts all around the country. We make the dollars stretch. We go very far with them, indeed, and leverage support from other private investors as well. I wanted to say that, I want to ask how many of you know of the term social determinants of health? Those of you follow it, yeah, a good many of you. So I think when I'm listening to everything going on here, I realize that we are, as you say, in a moment where, in a sense, there have been 1,000 or 1,000,000 points of light, but we have a greater opportunity than before for coalescing and for building coalitions. So that's why I'm grateful for both the NeuroArts Coalition as well as another thing that the NEA is involved with called Sound Health. Some of you know, Renee, of course, was a primary instigator with former NIH Director Francis Collins, which is, again, a coalition and a way to bring together those working in the sphere of music, in this case, music therapy, neuroscience, and community health as well. And these are just 2 examples, but there are many, many more, and they're starting to take speed and gather momentum. So why I say that is, I mentioned social determinants of health because I think the public health field is coming on board and getting more aware of this. I think through the work you're doing, Panagis, that a lot of that is really about making people realize that you just heard about how the arts can be used in a sense to diagnose people. It can also be used to treat, as we know. And it can also be used to communicate about why public health interventions are necessary, as we saw during COVID, where vaccine readiness was there's a partnership the NEA had, for example, with CDC, where we promoted vaccine readiness through the arts. And it can also, in addition to all this, the arts are a way of knowing and understanding the world. And I loved what Quanice said about the arts, bringing the arts to the table, at every conversation you have, because it is truly part of the construct of what we call social determinants of health. These are environmental or cultural influences that have a bearing on our public health scenario and who we are on an individual level as well as in a community and societal level. So we support grants all around the country promoting community arts and other types of arts activities, including arts education. I wanted to highlight just a couple of quick programs. Quickly highlight a couple of programs. One is called Our Town, which is all about creative placemaking. That is to say, bringing artists and arts and creatives into conversations with city planners, local developers, to try to integrate the arts and embed it in community life. And that's been very successful in the public health sphere, particularly. But I will also say that we also do work with the military and veterans, and there we bring what are called creative arts therapies, music therapy, dance therapy, art therapy, not only into clinics, so where military and service members and veterans facing traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress can experience the arts as a way to heal. But we also do this in community settings. So there's a community grants program for this program called Creative Forces that I encourage you to look up. And finally, we of course do research. I'm the director of research, so we study and support studies about the arts and health, among other topics. And I have to say, going through those books I mentioned, I wasn't just name dropping those books. Those are really great case studies. You open them to see the kinds of research that's possible. And what we want to do is harvest this and consolidate it and really bring this to the attention of policymakers so that other people in your profession, for example, recognize the need for this on a policy scale. And I think we do have a lot of work to do, but I think we're much closer than we've been in the time I've been at it, and I know my colleagues have been at it, thanks to your communications and the work you've all done.
I just want to say that I'm so in awe of what the NEA accomplishes with a budget that is really the equivalent of a grain of sand when you compare it to the entire government budget. And it's just remarkable. We're everywhere in meaningful ways. And as you said, you leverage the grants that you make and make sure that it's just the rings just continue to evolve. So I have a question for you. So you're the head of research. Can you tell us about what the research is and what the purpose of it is?
Sure. So the purpose is really to bring the best rigorous science to understanding how the arts work and for what purposes and for whom. And so we do a lot of different kinds of studies, and we conduct and commission studies. And we also, I mentioned NIH, which is not far from us in Bethesda, because they actually are an active partner in some of this work, particularly around music, but increasingly around dance, for example. So looking at the science of dance in the brain or music in health. But not just that, really all the art forms, and understanding how we can validate and quantify to some extent their impacts. That said, we approach the task with humility, because it's not like we're studying a drug or a medical device. It's a very complex set of interactions, not only talking about what's happening in the brain or, as you said, under the skin with cortisol levels or other hormonal or stress hormones or whatever happens in the brain.
My favorite is stimulating the vagus nerve when you sing.
Yes, exactly.
I understand that's a big thing on TikTok.
Absolutely.
The vagus nerve.
Well, that is possible. But those things, of course, we want to know more about that. But we also when I say humility, what we have to realize is this isn't new. I mean, this is something many cultures have practiced for centuries, if not millennia. And what I mean by that is recognizing a more comprehensive sense of what health means, and the sense of potential that people have, and knowing if you block someone's sense of potential, you're messing with their health, right? And so the arts open up our windows into those potentialities. And so we try to understand that, and therefore it requires many different types of methodologies, mixed methods, if those of you are researchers, qualitative research, case studies, as well as quantitative research and biometrical kinds of studies. So we do that. And we primarily support it through grant making. We support academic research institutions. I want to just do a shout out to when you heard about today's announcement about those fellowships. I mean, how amazing is that? It's so amazing because it's truly at this nexus where no one seems to want to play if you're a funder. This arts and health plus, kind of all this multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary work that I know NeuroArts is all about. We need more of that kind of scaffolding so that in this country we can tackle wicked problems. And human health is one of the biggest ones right now. But I think doing that through training and really think of the pipeline of people who are coming in. If you're an early career or just even getting out of college or thinking of going to college, think about that as a career trajectory, because it's growing, and we're seeing a lot of applications, research applications coming in all the time. You can check out all our grant opportunities at arts.gov, by the way.
Neuroscience has made a big difference in this area, right? And of course also the measurement, the fact that we have all this technology that can now measure how it is that we manage to kind of engage with arts, which is so powerful. It's such a human invariant. But Surgeon General Vivek Murthy released a really powerful piece last year about loneliness and isolation, which is an epidemic in the world. Talk about what do we know about how the arts can help us with these issues?
Yeah, and I should say I think we saw the Surgeon General here once, not long ago, on this very stage. So it's an honor. But the report was about an advisory where he basically said that loneliness is itself an epidemic. So it's not just a personal feeling. It's a true health problem. And the research actually shows, and the thing that was quoted in the media very extensively with good reason, is that if you look at all the kinds of health detriments, it's as bad as smoking, say, 15 cigarettes a day. And you can go and read the advisory and the research supporting it. But I wanted to point out, when that came out, I think a lot of people in our field, Quanice, in arts education or the arts or arts support, they realized this is something that it's like we forgot. This is actually a major part of why we exist as administrators and funders of the arts. It's because it is a salve to loneliness. The arts are inherently social. And I know this now because I'm excited to say a couple of weeks ago we released new research based on a large volume of data from the US Census Bureau, where they looked at people who did art in the last month, whether they attended arts events or created art, and whether they felt lonely, whether they were connecting with their communities, whether they were speaking to their friends and family and neighbors. And through all these measures, consistently we found the arts was highly correlated with greater social connectedness than if you didn't partake of the arts. And that's when, and we have reason to believe that when we control for other factors, it's also true. So we're still looking into that data, but I think that's just an example. And one last thing is when you ask people why they went to an arts event, most people say it's to be with other people, in fact. So there is that, and we certainly missed that during the pandemic.
So we're going to open it up for questions in just a moment, and then we have a special surprise for you, so don't go anywhere. But as you're talking, I'm thinking about David Fakunli, who is a public health doc, dual appointment at Hopkins and Morgan University in Baltimore. And he called yesterday created a new term yesterday called existential determinants of health. And I was like, ooh, that's really good. So he defined it as basically, do you want to be seen? Do you want to be listened to? Do you want to feel connected? And do you want to be loved? And I'm probably missing one of the other things that he said. But this idea that we all want to feel part of something greater than ourselves. And so I feel like this work around arts and aesthetic experiences and storytelling really comes home when you think about what does that really mean for each of us, and how we can, in very small ways, make that a reality. So I think we have a microphone in the audience, and we'd love to take some questions, or we can keep talking.
Just put your hands up.
Put your hands up, and we'll give a call.
One of my favorite things, Susan, that you've talked about a lot is this experience of awe or beauty, which is much of it is universal. A lot of things that we see the same way. Instead of making us feel small, like the Grand Canyon or the ocean, it makes us feel connected.
Awe is amazing. There was a study done a couple years ago with, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the Cirque du Soleil. And they were measuring awe. So if any of you have ever been to Cirque du Soleil, you know that it's pretty wild, right? People do amazing things. It's very awe-inspiring. And they did a study, and what they saw was that people that were there felt smaller, and that they were part of something bigger, that they were connected to each other, they were more open and more compassionate and more empathetic. So that's amazing, right? You think, yeah, that makes sense. But the other finding that I think is so interesting is that people who were in a state of awe were willing to take greater risks. And so if you're going to grow and you're going to evolve and you're going to transform, you have to take risks. And aversion to risk-taking in little ways comes down to not taking your medication, not going to the market, not leaving your block, right? Not leaving your home. And so risk turns out to be a really important variable, and awe gives us a bit of courage to be able to do that. Isn't that amazing?
I love that. I love that. Okay, questions?
Okay, we have a mic here. We have a mic here.
Hey, thank you for this panel. Hello, I'm Andrew Taylor. I'm on the Faculty of Arts Management at American University. Quanice is an alum, so proud. Curious about where and how professional nonprofit arts organizations are showing up in this conversation, because clearly right now they're all looking to be relevant and trying to find their connections to their communities. So I'm curious if there are programs with networks of symphonies or operas or museums that are finding ways to actually animate this work into the world.
Well, certainly, I think this is happening quickly now. It's disseminating through arts organizations, first of all. I mean, I personally believe arts organizations can become community centers, and instilling this idea around social connection. And so I think it's happening because they're all talking to each other and sharing programs. Also, the research is increasing. Asal Habibi at USC has not only studied children who study an instrument, but she's just started a study with singers, with kids who sing in a choir. There's a lot of research around singing in a choir now. So I think it's just understanding the research. So the Sound Health Network is a great resource for that. And Susan, talk about your resource center that's coming out in January.
Yeah, so with performing arts, cultural arts organizations, they are absolutely by sector and profession really starting to, as you said, reevaluate how they're becoming more of a conduit for arts and health, arts and well-being, along with all the other amazing things that the cultural arts organizations do. So it's not flipping a switch, but I think it's maybe turning a dial. And so in January, part of the NeuroArts Blueprint, we're releasing something called the NeuroArts Resource Center, where anybody in the world, whether you're an arts organization, an arts practitioner, a researcher, a funder, someone that's trying to do research, calls for proposals, you can find each other. And I think what we're trying to do is coalesce, as you said, coalesce all of these disparate groups that are doing things, and then the sort of next stage is to start to really bring more of this work to the general public. So the book that I wrote with Ivy Ross called Your Brain on Art was an attempt to begin to bring this work to the general public. Same with Renee's book, Music in Mind, was an attempt to sort of show the power of that. Renee and I both just gave a really big talk at the American Museum Association, where, I don't know, 4,000 museums are really reevaluating. We were there with Maria Rosario Jackson, who's the head of NEA, talking about how museums are changing. Performing arts groups all over the world are integrating this into what they're doing. Do you want to say a little bit more?
No, this is perfect. So what I would also say is, I'm sitting here as a physician and a true believer in the arts and what it can do where medicine can fail. Your health systems don't know they don't know that they need this. So what I would advocate to a lot of these nonprofit art-based centers is call your hospitals. You're going to find a physician scientist who recognizes the worth of this, and suddenly if you can make that connection, it'll explode, right? So reach out to them. I plead with you, because the health systems don't know that they need this. So we got to put that in there.
Can you recommend who to reach out to? Is it a volunteer?
Yeah, well, you can reach out to me. Yeah, I will connect. So medicineforthegreatergood.org. But no, from my standpoint, you can start with just the community outreach offices. Connect with them. And they usually can start peeling back more and more and more and more. You'll get there. I promise. It's like baseball. You just need one hit and you won. But you'll get there. So I apologize for my health system and my field for being slow to the table, but pull us in.
Within the community arts education field, there are two subfields. So there's one that's creative youth development that focuses on the mental well-being of our youth, and then there's creative aging. So an example for creative youth development is the RISE Center that's in the Bay Area. They do phenomenal work and healing work with their youth. And then Lifetime Arts is an amazing organization for creative aging and really looking at the interactions with arts and health in that sector.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that Renee mentioned a summit that was held in January of this year, earlier this year, called Bridging, Healing, Bridging, Thriving. And at the summit, it was announced that there would be a grants program for arts and health, and so that's getting underway. And so those are essentially for community arts organizations, but we're going to be creating a learning cohort to sort of track the work they're doing and document it and try to share it with other arts organizations. And plus, state arts agencies are really big into this too. So we're actually trying to create I call them learning cohorts. Imagine essentially a class of these professionals who get together and share best practices in the space of state arts agencies and arts and health. So we're trying to do that as well.
Can he find this on your website?
Yes,
somehow?
and that'll be coming out soon. So, and especially since Andrew, we kind of know about Andrew. So great guy. So we'll definitely share that with everyone.
I think we had a question in the back here. Did I see? Yeah.
While you're doing that, I forgot to mention there's another organization people may want to know about called the National Organization on Arts and Health. So that's a big umbrella group for a lot of organizations that work in this space as well.
Hopefully you can hear me this time. Great. Thank you so much. My name is Rachel. Outside of my creative and musical life, I work for an organization that translates health and health services research for policymakers making decisions. And a couple of your points resonated. A question that I have, whether at the NEA or elsewhere, what's your sense of the state of the science in terms of evidence synthesis? Because I hear a lot of talk about studies of a specific intervention, but at the health systems level and the policymaking level, what people want to know is en masse, what kind of change is this making? So if you went to a health system leader, is there a resource you could take to say, here's why you need this, you didn't know you needed this, but in fact you do, and here's the synthesis, here's the proof?
I could just add that we are really working on that. The NeuroArts Blueprint, job number one was to see if the community was ready to come together and wanted to come together. Then we had to work to bring them together. Then we had to look at what were the things that the community, the professional community needed. What was the state of research? What was the state of practice? What was the state of funding? We've just finished 2 economic analyses that are really exciting. One is on, the one was on singing and Alzheimer's, on the quality of life of the patient. The second one was on singing and Alzheimer's, on the quality of life of the society. And the return on investment for the first one was a 3-to-1 return on investment. We did it to create a model for economic analyses for arts and, which is hugely important. I'll just add one more thing, is that we have not really been ready to start to make that synthesis policy argument yet. I think that's
yet.
I was just going to quickly say the World Health Organization has done a wonderful, several years ago, not several, I think the first year, 2021, 2020, on this topic, arts and health. And there's a sequel that's coming out. If Jill Sonke were here, she could talk about it, because she's working with Nisha Sanjanani from New York University on another evidence synthesis. So the stuff is happening. I would look to the World Health Organization as well.
And what I'll add, so the challenge you'll get, and you really need to do a little bit of homework here. I'm sorry to assign that to you, but you need to understand also how the state funds the hospitals. So what we do is we take that insight and show the return of investments a healthcare setting can save, right? So you have to make it granular, because if you take it to a stakeholder that owns a hospital, that's great. The World Health Organization put this global picture. It's like, well, tell me how the money flows for me. And we can do that. And the arts not only save lives, they keep the lives in the community to stay connected, to find a purpose, to maintain their purpose. So happy to talk more about that, but that's key.
Maybe I'll just add a shout out to Alice Walton, who is building a new medical school that's highly arts integrated, to really think about that level of systems change, where if you're creating new physicians who are using the arts for their own practices, and also thinking about what the payer models are in healthcare. And that's just one sector, right? There's the education sector, there's the cultural arts sector, there's so many sectors to think about this. So it's a really great, snarly, messy problem. So I think we're out of time for questions, but any other closing comments on the panel? Anything you want to say?
Thank you all for being with us. This was really phenomenal. You're so passionate in your disciplines, and it's really been exciting to hear about your work.
And I think we're going to turn it over to Austin to take us out.
All right, y'all. This is a bit of a song called We Are One Love that I wrote with a dear friend that was inspired by a Rumi poem. It's called We Are One Love. The poem excerpt is, they say that there's a doorway from heart to heart, but what is the use of windows and walls when doors and windows when there are no walls? So I'm going to teach you your part. It goes like this. We are one. We are one. We are one love. Sing it with me. We are one. We are one. We are one love. So I'm going to sing a verse. You can join me on the next chorus. No walls between our hearts. No walls between our souls. Where you begin and where I start. Who I am, who you are. Oh, we are one. We are one. We are one now. Sing one more chorus with me. Yeah, yeah. We are so much, y'all.
Thank you so much, Austin Wiley. Bravo. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us at Millennium Stage. For more information,